Welcome to The Explainer. So, have you ever wondered if your life was just meant to be or if it's all just one big series of random accidents? Well, that question you just asked yourself, that's a metaphysical one. Today, we're going to tackle the big, intimidating word metaphysics. We're going to break down what it is, where it came from, and why its questions are maybe more relevant now than ever before. So let's just dive right in. And instead of starting with some dry textbook definition, let's begin with a simple little scenario. It's going to show how you're probably already thinking like a metaphysician and you don't even know it. Okay, picture this. You walk into a cafe and you notice something kind of weird. Everyone inside, just by pure chance, happens to be wearing a blue shirt. A second later, a cook in the back drops a carton of French fries and they fall straight to the floor. Now, one of these things feels like a total coincidence, right? But the other one, it feels like it was necessary, like it couldn't have gone any other way. So what's the real difference there? The blue shirts, yeah, that's just a fluke, a total accident. But the fries? I mean, given gravity and the fact that the cook let go, it feels like they had to fall. That little distinction you just made in your head, the one between a random accident and a necessary event, that is the very heart of a metaphysical question. See, you're already doing it. So that little example really gets us to the core of it all. What are we really talking about when we say the word metaphysics? Let's clear up one of the biggest misconceptions right now. At its core, metaphysics is the branch of philosophy that asks the absolute biggest questions you can think of. It really just boils down to two things. First, what is all this stuff around us? What ultimately exists? And second, what is it like? You could say it's the search for the fundamental rulebook of reality itself. And this right here, this is where a ton of confusion comes from. There's this huge gap between the popular meaning and the philosophical one. You know, you see a metaphysics section in a bookstore, you're expecting crystals, tarot cards, that kind of thing. But in philosophy, metaphysics is not about the supernatural. It's about the fundamental, the underlying structure of reality itself. In fact, Aristotle, the philosopher who pretty much invented this field, he didn't even call it metaphysics. He called it first philosophy, because he saw it as the foundation for all other knowledge. It was the study of the very first principles and the ultimate causes of, well, everything. And here's the best part. The name metaphysics was a complete accident. Seriously, centuries after Aristotle died, an editor was organizing all his scrolls. He just placed the books on first philosophy right after the books on physics. Meta just means after in Greek. So he literally labeled them the scrolls that come after the physics, and somehow the name just. So metaphysics isn't just one question. It's a whole family of them. They're the deep, fundamental questions about reality that science can't quite answer on its own, but that we all find ourselves thinking about. For example, just think about yourself for a second. You were a child once. Every single cell in your body is different now. Your beliefs, your memories, your whole personality, they've all changed. So what is the invisible thread that connects that little kid to the person you are right now? What is it that makes you, you? Or how about this? You made a choice to watch this explainer, but you could have chosen to do something totally different. Does that other path, the one you didn't take, does it exist in some way? Is there some kind of parallel reality, a possible world where another version of you is making that other choice right now? And what about free will? Just imagine if science got so advanced that it could scan your brain and, based on the laws of physics, predict exactly what you are going to do next with 100% accuracy. If your every single move is predictable, are your choices really your own? These are not just, late-night dorm room questions. They are the heart of these intense, ongoing debates among philosophers, and they touch on the very essence of what it means to be a person in the world. So let's see how these huge questions actually build into real arguments. Here are just a few examples of modern metaphysical debates that are happening as we speak. First up, let's go back to that problem of personal identity. Philosophers are really sharply divided on what actually keeps you the same person throughout your whole life. So on one side, you have philosophers who argue for a purely physical view. You are your body. Simple. As long as that body continues to exist, you continue to exist. But then you have others who champion a psychological view. You are your memories, your personality. And this leads to these bizarre but really important thought experiments, like if your body was destroyed, but we could perfectly reassemble your memories in a new one, would that new person still be you? Okay, next up, let's go back to all those other lives you could have led. The life where you became a detective, or the one where you took that job in another country. Metaphysics asks, where, if anywhere, do those possibilities actually exist? One camp argues that we should take this idea literally, that these possible worlds are just as real and concrete as our own universe. But the other side argues that these worlds are just useful fictions. They're powerful stories we tell ourselves to help us think through what might have been. And finally, we come back to that classic clash, our deep gut feeling that we're free versus the scientific picture of a universe that's totally governed by cause and effect. And this is a huge debate. On one side, you have thinkers who argue that freedom and determinism are compatible, that even if your actions are predictable, your choices can still be considered free. But on the other side, you have those who argue that no way, for our will to be truly free, our choices can't just be another link in a predetermined chain of events. And this isn't just an abstract puzzle. It shapes how we think about really important things like responsibility, blame, and justice. So after all these mind-bending questions, what's the point, right? Why does this ancient field of study, born from a librarian's filing mistake, still matters so much today? Well, the reason metaphysics endures is because it questions the very foundation of everything else we think we know. It challenges all the hidden assumptions we make about science, about morality, about our own lives. It is the ultimate why machine. And it's a powerful reminder that we're all, in our own way, accidental philosophers. We're all just trying to make sense of what is, what could be, and what must be. So the only question left is, what fundamental thing will you question today? Thanks for watching.